One other thing from the All-Star break, there's all these like there's media day where everybody gets interviewed by 1,000 reporters and people are sticking cameras in their face and every clip goes viral and all that. And there was some from Buxton, some from Joe Ryan. The Buxton one I thought was interesting where he basically said, somebody asked him about what he thought about, trade deadline. And he said, I don't really care. I'm not going anywhere. I got a no trade clause. I'm going to end my career in Minnesota. That's what I wanted. I know I feel good every day. I'm paraphrasing, walking into that clubhouse and knowing I'm going to wear a Minnesota Twins jersey. And that is precisely what we've talked about over the years with him. It's not a lot of guys have a no trade clause just because they can get a no trade clause. And there's always this assumption that, oh yeah, I know they have a no trade clause, but if the new team gives them an extra $1 million or guarantees a team option at the end and that does happen. There are definitely guys who strategically put, or their agents probably strategically put a no trade clause to certain teams that are more likely to trade for star players and do so with the intention of then applying leverage and getting better contract terms, getting an extension, whatever it is. That ain't what Byron Buxton was doing. Byron Buxton signed a 6-year extension in 2022 because he wanted to be in Minnesota. And he's been so consistent about that, both on and off the record, and just how he talks with his family and how his family talks and all that stuff. And so I'm not saying it's impossible that someday Byron Buxton is open to a trade, but I'm saying to treat his no trade clause like kind of a standard, oh yeah, it's a no trade clause, but I think is kind of missing the boat on how he is as a person and how much he enjoys Minnesota. And I was actually on Barrero's show on KFan the other day, a couple days ago, and basically said, Minnesotans have this huge chip, and I'm a lifelong Minnesotan, so don't get mad at me here. Have this huge chip on our shoulders in every context, but especially sports, of like, people say they don't want to be here. Star players leave. They get traded away. Nobody wants to be here. And anytime like a celebrity, a D-list celebrity moves here, it's like, oh my God, they love Minnesota. You got a phenomenal baseball player, a 2-time All-Star now, from Atlanta, Georgia, which is real different from Minnesota, let me tell you. And all he wants is to spend the rest of his career working and living in Minnesota and playing for the Minnesota Twins and wearing that uniform. And it's like, well, but could they get a little extra value for him if they trade for him? And I get it logically. I do get it, but it's like, how about we just enjoy Byron Buxton? Like, he's a great player. He's their best player. He doesn't even make that much money. He's signed for 3 more years. He loves it here. His family loves it here. He's an incredible representative of both the state and the organization and the team. And it's fun to see him hit for the cycle and then go in the home run, all this stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, but they could get like a third, B-level prospect. Right. It's like, yeah, and what? 5 years from now, one of those guys is half as good as Byron Buxton, and then we're talking about trading that guy away too. So I like the quotes that he had where it was like, yeah, I don't care about the trade deadline. I'm here. I like it here, and I'm going to be here. And
you're absolutely right about how absurd that is in terms of the fan expectations for superstars and how quickly we want to trade away superstars, especially. I mean, it's interesting to me in how much he's expressed how much he cares about Minnesota, and yet that's not something that people often talk about with Buxton. Whereas
nobody seems to be listening. It's like go in one ear, out the other. And I mean, he's so consistently talked about that.
Right.
And I mean, some of the quotes he gave during the All-Star were like so glowing, like basically, Minnesota's my home. I'm from Baxley, Georgia, but Minnesota's my home. My family loves it. Blah, blah, blah.
I have Twins on my jersey till I die.
Right. It's like, how can you hear that from a guy? I mean, it's one thing to hear that from like Joe Mauer or something like that.
Sure, right.
Although people wanted to trade Joe Mauer too. But it's another thing to hear that from a guy who is from a very different place. He's from a small rural town in Georgia. And this is a weather shock and a culture shock and all that. And I'm sure it's getting used to and all that. His family, and I see his family. I've talked to his wife a couple times. Like, they're so nice and they are so a part of this organization. You mentioned that baseball seems to be leaning more into the family stuff. I can tell you that players talk about the Twins, even players who have left the Twins, how they go above and beyond to make families a part of the organization. And, families, they want them at games. They want them, outside the clubhouse. They have, daycare set up for them. They have all these, family rooms and stuff. And Buxton has 3 kids and a wife, and they're constantly there. And it's not by accident. And it is fascinating to me that he says and does all of the right things at all times. Like he's never once slipped up and been like, Minnesota, I'd like to play for the Braves, actually. Something like that.
Well, and he says that about the organization. Meanwhile, like he's the only constant that's been going on in this organization through his tenure. Like he was in the organization when Gardner was here. He played under Molitor. He played under Baldelli. He was, drafted underneath Terry Ryan, was playing underneath Derek Falvey. And now we're at the point where we might have an ownership change on top of it. Yeah. And yet he's been constant, like no matter who's in the organization, no matter who's leading it, no matter who his manager is, he's happy to be here. Yes. That says something.
Yeah. And I just, it's weird that never seems to register.
And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
Or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.